The Gilded Age will be a period in U.S. history where things look good on the outside but bad on the inside. It is a time where the country is growing into becoming cities and we are developing our political system. So as this is coming to be created, there will be a lot of corruption going on in the democratic process. It's a period of time where no party will hold office for a long period of time. We're going to see a lot of different presidents during this period of time as well. So the first thing we're going to be talking about during the Gilded Age is a system known as the spoils system. And it deals with the meat and potatoes of the political climate during this time. So please take good notes and answer complete all questions. Again, this is Mr. Ewell class, the Gilded Age. Thank you.
In 1873, a promising young writer named Mark Twain co-authored a book called The Gilded Age. Gilding was a common process in the 19th century in which a thin layer of gold was applied to a non-precious object, hence making it appear more valuable than it actually was. Twain's satiric novel poked fun at America's increasing obsession with getting rich quick. Historians adopted the phrase to describe the period of American history between 1870 and 1900. A period where the growth of industrialization and prosperity thinly disguised the corruption of politicians and businessmen that festered beneath the era's golden veneer.
A vicious cold snap hit New York in the first week of February 1897. But nothing could slow the preparations for the impending revelry. The city's wealthiest citizens were readying themselves for one of the most anticipated balls in the nation's history. An extravagant exclamation point on what would come to be known as the Gilded Age.
During the Gilded Age, Americans feel quite certainly that they are the vanguard of civilization and progress. There's an enormous period of opportunity and possibility and hope.
No group felt more confident about the future than the guests who would gather for the party at the luxurious Waldorf Hotel. The evening's total price tag, according to newspaper reports, was enough to feed nearly 1,000 working-class families for a full year. Defenders noted that the ball stood to benefit the entire city. Critics begged to differ. With all the people, warned one minister, who have to lie awake nights contriving to spend their time and their money, and all the others who lie awake wondering how they may get food, there is danger in the air.
It was a fractious time in which a sense of desperation amidst growing wealth was emerging.
Increasingly, workers begin to say, if I, as a member of this society, lack the ability to pay my bills and to feed my family, then I am not a free citizen of a healthy republic. I'm something else, something that the Founding Fathers would not recognize.
The magnitude of the late 19th century transformation of American society is hard to exaggerate. It was as if you woke up in one country and you went to bed in another.
30 years after the Civil War, America had transformed into an economic powerhouse. But the transformation had created stark new divides in wealth, standing, and opportunity.
It's shocking for people to see a country developing before them that is increasingly clearly divided into the haves and have-nots.
Gilded is not golden. Gilded has the sense of a patina covering something else. It's the shiny exterior and the rot underneath.
By the time New York's elite gathered at the Waldorf Ballroom, the richest 4,000 families in the country, less than 1% of all Americans, had scooped up nearly as much treasure as the other 11.6 million families combined. "We are the rich," one partygoer remarked. "We own America. We got it, God knows how, but we intend to keep it if we can."
there is this fight over what is America's collective self-identity? Who are we? Are we two nations, the poor and the wealthy? Or are we one nation where everybody has a chance to succeed?
So students, as you can see, this is really like the period of time in America where we are creating the have and the have-nots. This is when the wealthy is just philandering all their money around and poor people can't even survive. So one of the key things that's going to be in the politics of this period is the spoil system, and it's going to explain right now what is the spoil system. And please make sure you're taking good notes on this, because this is the meat and potatoes of this lesson. What is the spoil system and how that comes into the corruption of the Gilded Age politics? Thank you.
Which was an important part of that assassination story. The spoil system, also called patronage by some, is a practice in which the winning candidate or political party of an election rewards supporters by appointing them government posts or jobs. Basically, the winner of an election rewards those who helped get him or her elected with favors in the form of jobs. To the victor goes the spoils. Now, use of the spoil system began in 1829 when President Andrew Jackson, having won the presidential election of 1828, held his inauguration. If you don't know what an inauguration is, it's a ceremony or a celebration marking the beginning of a president's term, and it's capped off by a reception party at the end of the day. Andrew Jackson's inauguration ceremony was held at Capitol Hill, where all presidential inaugurations are held. He was sworn in as president, and he gave his inaugural address. Thousands of excited people watched that ceremony, and as it concluded, the crowd rushed forward to get closer to their new president. People were shouting, cheering, clapping. The scene was absolute chaos. Andrew Jackson, very wisely, ran from the crowd at Capitol Hill and by horseback rode to the White House, only to find that the scene wasn't any more tranquil there. People were climbing through the White House windows. Why were these people acting like this? Well, in America's earlier years, the post-inaugural reception, or that party, was open to everyone. So the crowd basically was excited because they knew they were about to participate in an epic party. And an epic party it was. People walked through the halls and rooms of the White House with muddy boots. They stood on chairs. Large amounts of alcoholic punch was consumed by the crowds. The White House suffered several $1,000s worth of damage. Andrew Jackson didn't even stay for the entire time. He jumped out a back window because it was getting too out of hand. But the raging party wasn't the only reason the crowd was so excited. They were intent on getting close to Andrew Jackson. Some of these people were Jackson supporters who helped get Jackson elected president. They sought to get in contact with Jackson to make their job demands clear through the spoil system, or to make sure that Jackson followed through on those favors that he promised them. This was the spoil system. This is the spoil system. Nearly 1,000 government officials were removed from office when Jackson was elected president and replaced by his supporters. While it's obvious that the spoil system isn't necessarily fair, we have to realize that the spoil system had a negative effect on the government. The spoil system rewarded jobs to people on the basis of loyalty. These people that received the jobs weren't necessarily competent, meaning they didn't necessarily have the skills to perform the job they were appointed to, or weren't the best person to hold that job. It goes without saying that this had a negative effect on the efficiency and the effectiveness of the American government.
Spoils system. Gaining favor or positions in a system for being well-liked or making a monetary contribution. Some argue that President Trump has a spoils system in place because all of the open political offices are given to his unqualified friends. Those who donated to his campaign were given high-up political positions as part of his spoils system policy. Ancient Rome was a spoils system in which those who made monetary contributions to the rulers earned positions in the government. Royal courts are a spoils system in which those who are well-liked and friendly with those in power gain favors.
Howdy, partner.
The young politician hated that Congress was based on a spoils system because no matter how hard he worked, it would be impossible to gain a position. Spoils system. Gaining favor or positions in a system for being well-liked or making a monetary contribution. Spoils system.
The Gilded Age. By the end of the 19th century, the United States had started to transform into a more industrial country, meaning we're going to start having factories and cities going to be created. So with all of these positive changes, it means people are going to be making more money and more people will come to power. This will lead to a lot of political corruption, and this period of time will be known as the Gilded Age. When you think of the Gilded Age, a lot of historians want you to view it as is a period of time in America's politics where everything on the outside looks shiny, but in the inside is rotten. So this is a good picture to show that demonstration, because on the outside everything looks good, but in actuality everything's look bad. I mean, there's a lot of bad things going on behind the scenes. The famous author Mark Twain would call this, will coin this phrase from 1876 to the 1900s, known as the Gilded Age. He's going to come up with that coin, and it sticks with this period of time. During this time, it was all about money. Who had the most money, who had control. And senators and political positions were pretty much bought and sold to the highest bidder. And this period of time is again known as the Gilded Age. During this time in American politics, no party really dominated. Republicans and Democrats pretty much was always at odds with each other, and no one, they couldn't get any laws passed again because there were constantly a lot of fighting going on. So some terms that you really do, before we go into the meat and potatoes of the subject, some things that you need to know about patronage and the spoils system. Under these two systems, it's pretty much where people are giving jobs to their friends instead of giving them to the most qualified people. The spoils system will mainly come into place under Andrew Jackson again, and this is a period of time where people will be given their jobs based off friendship rather than qualifications, and this is going to become a major problem in America. So some reforms of that, if they're going to try to move to a more merit-based system, meaning that people will get their jobs based off their experience more than whether or not who they know.